This video is a film study focus on Brian Branch, who I think had tremendous impact in the Lions' blowout win over the Bears in Week 2. He had 6 tackles. He was credited with 1 fumble, which I find interesting. A pass defense as well on a third and really long, when Caleb Williams kind of throws the ball up for grabs once again. He also had a sack on an impressive rush. Kelvin Shepherd is not giving in. He's playing the same brand of defense, the same style for much of the game that Aaron Glenn utilized for the last 2 seasons in Detroit before moving on to New York. Brian Branch's versatility just jumps out off the film, if you ask me. I wasn't able to watch the game live, was watching the Ravens game while traveling, and then able to produce a reaction video for the Ravens win over the Browns. Because of having limited time, I wasn't able to watch the Lions game live. I watched it late last night, and a friend of mine who's from Alabama, and a huge Alabama fan, and was banging the table for us to draft Brian Branch when he came out. And he was just so excited yesterday. He said, "Coach, Brian Branch is a destroyer." And when that was him messaging me before I even watched the film. And once I got to take a look at the film, I was like, man, you were absolutely right. Him and I both might be homers in terms of rooting for Brian Branch, but I think the film will live up to it, at least for Week 2. 1st and 10 on the first possession. In fact, first play of the game, I'll usually spot shadow Branch in yellow, and it's a Wildcat setup. So the running back is Swift, and he's going to go to his left, the top side of our screen, with Caleb Williams in motion coming back against that flow. So it kind of just holds Branch enough. He's got awareness. Okay, this is Caleb Williams coming back to the side. Maybe I should veer off here to Caleb Williams. As such, there's enough conflict created for Swift to kind of slide underneath of Branch. Odunze is also there to maybe help block if someone shows up. But in any case, you see that Branches, some people would say overrun the play. I don't categorize it that way. There's tremendous conflict that's been created. But DJ Reed with a really nice tackle to really thwart what I think is an interesting play call by Ben Johnson on the very first snap. I think we're still on the first possession here, and Branch is at high safety. Ball is on the right hash. I usually do this with the blue line to illustrate where the ball is. It's a 3rd and 9. And this is a touchdown to Odunze. So things don't start off great talking about the Lions overall in this video, but there's a point to this. I think there's a blown coverage here. Odunze had a really nice game, don't get me wrong, but this is a blown coverage in my opinion. I wouldn't attribute this to Jack Campbell or to Brian Branch. But Branch is covering the number 2. Okay, it's a little bit of a stack release, I guess I should say. It's difficult to call him a number 2 or a number 1 because they're stacked on top of each other. But as this route works its way through, Branch is going to take that over. And then the outside corner, which I think is Terrion Arnold, that's DJ Reed, is occupied by DJ Moore. As such, I mean, Jack Campbell left all alone underneath. There's just no communication here. It's a 3 deep, 2 under, I guess is what we'll call this, 3 deep, 2 under. To me, it seems like a blown coverage. Really made it too easy for Odunze to catch the ball and then run onto that open space. Reed makes a last-ditch effort. Unfortunate, man, because it's a 3rd down. Your offense had just gone down and scored pretty easily, and then you allow the Bears this opportunity to score on a 3rd down. I think there's some more to talk about there with that particular play. All right, let's start to focus on Branch a little bit in terms of what he did effectively to have an impact on the game. Not that the previous play was his fault. So 3rd possession here, 2nd and 7, and it's 11 personnel for the Bears. So the tight end is up to the top side. And you've got 3 receivers in a bunch alignment down here to the boundary. This is buck sweep. This is classic old school buck sweep. Both guards are pulling. The running back is following them. And then even it has his hand on the back of the right guard as they're going. I mean, classic buck sweep stuff. And then Branch, man. I mean, this is sick stuff. Campbell is the guy who recovers the fumble. But let's pull that out of there for a moment. Branch downhill is impacting Swift. And yeah, I will give you the end zone angle so you can see it obviously a little bit more clearly. It comes through 720 here once I'm able to get the film. I saw I think a YouTube or maybe a TikTok short or something this morning that showed Branch flash across the screen violently to force that fumble. It was kind of like a view from this angle, like someone over here, maybe a fan or whatever, had an angle view where Branch just flies in from the side, from left to right on the screen, and forces the fumble. Fortunately for the Lions, Jack Campbell's there to catch it. Here's the buck sweep nature of it. The guards are the orange lines, and then Swift's path. He's kind of not really going downhill there like I show, but this is Branch. We'll try to spot shadow this a couple of times. What I like about Branch is when he gets a trigger, he's downhill. He is very confident in his reads. When he gets a read, he commits to it. And so I'll try to do this sometimes, and if it doesn't work in this video, you're more than welcome to let me know. Again, I recognize that it's 720p in terms of the way the film outputs. That ball actually hits off of someone's helmet after Branch forces the fumble. Right there, it's a defensive tackle. Wingo, maybe. And then Campbell catches it in the air. Huge turnover for me. Unfortunately, the Lions, they were already up 14-7 at this point. Miss a field goal, right, that could have made it 17-7. But the offensive onslaught, wasn't going to stop. I just think that turnover is a great example of how a guy like Branch can change the game in one play. He's the only player in the NFL that I'm willing to consistently compare and mention in the same way as Kyle Hamilton. And here's what I mean. There's a wide umbrella of what both of those guys are capable of doing and what they're asked to do on the field from a safety standpoint. They're not free safeties. They can play free safety. They're not nickel DBs. They can play nickel. They're not dime linebackers. They can do that as well. They're great. They're both great blitzers. Fantastic coming forward. Fantastic playing laterally and playing backwards. And to me, there aren't 5 guys in the NFL like those two. There's probably some that I'm missing. I just think those 2 guys are absolutely elite at the safety position. 5th possession now, it's still 15-7. Here's what I'm talking about. The same guy who just forced a fumble on a run play, basically, a run fit, kind of like a linebacker. Now he covers the best wide receiver for the other team. And in this case, it's Odunze, kind of like this 2 over-under routes, if you will, from the top side. You've got Terrion Arnold, man on DJ Moore. And then here's Branch battling with Odunze. This is one that I'm not sure why he doesn't get a forced fumble. We'll try this again, and then we'll do it without spot shadow. I'm just not sure why he doesn't get a forced fumble here. In fact, I think he's getting the ball out now. And then, can you get 2 forced fumbles on the same play? It looks to me like he should be credited for one. By the stats that I saw, he's not credited for either on this play. From what I saw is 1 forced fumble yesterday in the game against the Bears, and it just doesn't make sense to me. The ball's on the ground here. Odunze is credited with a catch, and then Branch gets up and knocks it out again. It seems pretty clear to me that should be a fumble. It didn't matter, really, because Kirby Joseph's interception was on the very next snap, and Detroit goes down to take a 21-7 lead. Second quarter, still 21-7. The Bears actually score about 3 plays after this. This is 2nd and 2, and it's 12 personnel. Here's the 2 tight ends. It's more of a downhill angle run play for this running back, so I kind of messed up that graphic there. But you get the point. How do you leave Brian Branch on block? To me, at this point, he's the kind of guy that you have to account for. And, Ben Johnson should know that, in my opinion. Not that Ben Johnson's on the field, but to me, there's got to be a way that you're teaching your quarterback and the other guys on your team that Brian Branch, if he's lined up near the line of scrimmage, we've got to make sure that we block that guy because he's just too good. In my opinion, he's that good, and I would think that Ben Johnson and even Caleb Williams would have some awareness of it because he's made so many impact plays in his career already, and he had yesterday to that point as well. We're into the third quarter now. Lions are up 28-14. This is an underrated play in my opinion, and by no means am I trying to give Caleb Williams credit that I don't think is there, but I think he throws this ball behind the receiver intentionally. This is the tight end. The only reason I have this route there is he's actually covered by Alex Anzalone on the play, and Anzalone is just one of the few inside linebackers that does that and does it well. Let's move the tight end's route out of the way. So we're just going to talk about the outside receivers route. They're really stacked, so we're talking about the slot, but in terms of these 2 guys being stacked together, I think it's Zacchaeus, 14, who came over from Washington. So you can see Zacchaeus' release is kind of like to the outside first. And Branch he's very good on these flat foot reads, just flat foot, no pedal at all. Caleb Williams is definitely looking to that side right now. In my opinion, he actually does have awareness of Branch from the standpoint of where this route is going. He throws it behind Zacchaeus, and there'll be some who will say, well, that's just a poorly thrown ball. I think he's trying to, really what I think he's trying to do is make sure that Brian Branch doesn't get thrown out of this football game. Because if he throws this ball here, and Branch has his foot in the ground, and he's driving at that angle, we could see a collision, in my opinion. And maybe Branch isn't in perfect position to really get a huge hit on Zacchaeus. Like I said, I think it's Zacchaeus. In my opinion, Williams threw that ball behind him because, and again, that's a subtle play for me, where I think Branch's ability to move laterally, well, maybe coming downhill a little bit if the ball was thrown out in front of Zacchaeus, is really underrated. For him not to have been in the top 100 ranked players before this season, I think, was quite absurd. The Lions' lead has just grown here. This is a 3rd and 34. He gets a PD on this one, pass defense. It's another flat foot read, in fact. 3rd and 34. So Caleb Williams is going to end up getting out of the pocket to his right, to the top side of the screen. And, recall the interception that Kirby Joseph had. I mean, Caleb Williams does the same damn thing here. You got to give him credit for being gutsy. This is cover 3, which is a little surprising. Detroit doesn't play this much under Kelvin Shepard, and they didn't under Aaron Glenn as well, or either. You do have crossers here by these routes, so these corners have kind of hedged to the inside. We're talking about the outside corners there, but let's talk about Branch for a moment. Branch is just sitting down. You might be like, Coach, this isn't a cover 3. He's just sitting there. Well, you got to keep in mind, it's 3rd and 34, so he's not coming downhill a whole lot because the line to gain is so deep, in fact. So Williams gets out of here, and he's going to try to target Odunze right there. Branch is going to recover. He gets a PD here on this play. I find it crazy that Caleb Williams did this again. If I don't have the end zone angle here, but if I did, it's a cannon of a throw, and it's a perfect spiral. But Branch gets there and hits Odunze, fortunately, because, at that point, down 31-14, they're probably going for it on the very next snap. I'm just glad that he got a pass defense on the play. I was really hoping that he got an interception yesterday and would be in Defensive Player of the Week consideration. So fourth quarter, it's now 45-14 with the offense just showing no signs of slowing down at all. It's a 2nd and 8, and this is one of 2 blitzes that I'll show you to close out this video. It's a 2-man blitz, if you will, with Anzalone and Branch, and they're both really good at this, in my opinion. I'll try the spot shadow thing again. This is not the one where he elevates. This is one where he takes on the running back and overwhelms him with physicality, hauls in Williams for, like I said, his 1 sack on the day. And have to say this, Kelvin Shepard is committed. You can't blame him for being committed to the style of play when you've got really good blitzers, and Brian Branch is one of them. He's a great blitzer, in fact. He's a finisher when he gets in the backfield and very physical. He tackles people in a violent manner. Same play from the end zone angle before we get to the penalty. It wouldn't be a complete Brian Branch video without a penalty to talk about, right? That was either incredibly physical or somewhat questionable. There's the blitz design. You can maybe not see this defensive tackle kind of crossing the guard's face, meaning he's crossing the guard's face to this side such that it clears open that B gap for Anzalone and Branch to both goes through the same gap, basically create a 2-on-1 on the running back. You can see the running back is getting over here late. There's Branch. Going to take him on, play through the contact. He's really great at playing through contact. I don't know if he played inside linebacker in high school or anything like that, but he's got inside linebacker physicality to me, outside corner coverage skills, and then safety ball skills and awareness. Truly remarkable mixture, if you ask me. Lions had 4 sacks on the day, which I think is great output. You'd love to see that continue. Fourth quarter, last one that we'll show you. This is, of course, the penalty on Brian Branch. I don't know, man. I'd be willing to bet that you guys and I have a very different opinion of this one. He does make contact with the helmet, so I guess that's why it's called. It's pretty much the same blitz. Defensive tackle crossing the guard's face. Anzalone, Branch trying to both B-gap insert, and then the outside rusher, which is Derek Barnes. In this case, Branch is elevating. He's a free rusher. And I truly think he's just trying to grab Caleb Williams. I truly think he's just trying to grab him and make sure that he doesn't land on top of Williams and get a penalty, because that's been so overcoached or overblown in the last couple of years. You're welcome to let me know if you think I'm just being a Brian Branch homer. I get it. There's a lot of people, especially young people, who are going to say, no, you can't make contact with the quarterback like that. But let's give you the end zone angle so you can see it. It's 720p, like I said, so perhaps the quality of the video detracts from it a little bit. We'll slow motion it. I guess there's contact with the helmet right there, and that's what they're calling. So I understand it. Just wish that it hadn't been called, or wish that he hadn't made any contact with him at all, because I do get the sense that even though Branch is extremely physical and he plays the game the right way, he plays the game with an edge, and I think you should. I think you have to. really, I think he was trying to hold Caleb Williams up. To me, there was no malice intended there. It was an impressive defensive performance on Sunday. I get it, though, that the Bears did finish with 19 first downs, and they ran for 134 yards. However, 120 plus of that, I think 126 or 124, something like that, was in the fourth quarter when the game was over. I read out the scores to you guys. You guys watched it live. In my opinion, Kelvin Shepard's group played really well up front. They executed some of those high-pressure blitzes. I showed you 2 of them here. Branch's overall output, 6 tackles, 2 TFLs, the sack, a quarterback hit that resulted in the penalty there in the fourth quarter, and then the pass defense that I showed you on Odunze. I'm most impressed by his coverage skills, even though he doesn't get statistical designation for some of those things, you know. I do wonder if Branch, if he was playing more of a zone structure at times, would be able to break on balls more and get more chances for interceptions. But he had 4 last week. And so it's not that I'm not saying that the system lets him down. I'm just wondering, because of his instincts, his burst, and his awareness, if he was playing in a zone system more, that he wouldn't be able to break on balls and maybe generate 5, 6, 7 interceptions in certain years. I think he's got the wide variety of plays that I showed you here. I think is incredible, and I think it's worth mentioning that Branch gives you supreme coverage skills as a nickel DB, at the same time that he plays great downhill and plays exceptional against the run. The only 2 guys that I could put in that do-everything category that are that good, that are that elite at pretty much everything, like I said, is Brian Branch and Kyle Hamilton. If you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. If you think there's any important plays that I left out, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And then finally, if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Brian Branch and what I had to say about some of his plays, trying to interpret it for you, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.